Hello everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we are coming to you with a Gilded Glamour Met Gala review for the 2022 red carpet experience. And let me tell you, it was an experience. A good one? Not by a long shot, but it was an experience. Now, I am speaking quite lowly only because it's very late here in New York. It's the night of the Met Gala and I'm trying to get this video out to you. But there will be other versions of Met Gala reviews from this year. There's so many looks to talk about. I have not been able to cover them all in this video, so watch out for a part 2. Honestly, at this point, there might also be like a part 3, I'm not sure. For those of you who do not know about the theme of this year's Met Gala, which is Gilded Glamour, please go check out our video. It explains a very, very nice and concise look at the Gilded Age and what it means, the fashion that sort of ran through it, and how different fashion designers over the past century have reinterpreted the styles of the period. Let me tell you, designers this year did not reinterpret the styles for the most part. Now, I know somebody's gonna comment inevitably, well, who are you to judge? You're not on theme. Well, actually, this little Marc Jacobs Spring 2020 look is most definitely a reference, in my opinion, to the invention of synthetic, bright, vibrant colors that most definitely came around during the Gilded Age. So you can say it's ugly, that's fine, I don't really care. But am I on theme? Yeah. And now let's just get right into this roast and review. First up, Alicia Keys wearing Ralph Lauren. Now, I hate this. I hate this. I despise this. Do I think that this little asymmetrical cape with a nice embroidery of Swarovski crystal New York City skyline is horrific for any other time than this Met Gala? No, I don't. But do I think that a modern version of the New York skyline has anything to do with late 19th century fashion history? No. The crystals are silver, so you're not even playing into the whole, oh, gilded, gold, and then it's just a little strapless silver dress. The back, again, does it look really nice? Does it look really beautiful? Does it look really pretty? Yeah. Do I think that for an Alicia Keys New York Concrete Jungles Where Dreams Are Made Of tribute concert, this would be fantastic? Absolutely. Do I think that it makes sense for a Gilded Glamour Met Gala theme? No. I understand Ralph Lauren is the king of modern American, preppy, waspy, yada, 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 yada. Listen, I get it. I read the book. But Mr. Ralph Lauren, his main store in New York is at the Rhinelander. The Rhinelanders were in Mrs. Astor's 400, the most exclusive New York snobby families of the Gilded Age. So we didn't think to reference the Gilded Age when we have a store in a Gilded Age mansion. Riddle me that one. Next up, we had Anitta. She's wearing Moschino. Let's break it down a little bit. We talked about in the Gilded Age explanation video that there were quite a lot of American women that would be dripping in precious jewels and pearls, etc., etc. So I wonder if that's kind of what's going on here with these swags of pearls that come in and out. It also seems like we have a little bit of a bustle situation going on in this purple, silky experience. The off-the-shoulder element gives it a little bit more modern touch and flair, and then that waist is tight, it's wrapped, it's having its moment, flaring out of the skirt towards the back. Do I wish that the poof fell into a full skirt? Absolutely. I think it would have been a little bit more impactful. Do I wish that we went full Monty with all of these pearls, as I think Moschino most definitely could? Again, absolutely. But do I think that at least there's some elements of first and second bustle periods being referenced with little sort of twist on the hourglass maybe towards the end? Sure. I'm being generous here because there's not really a lot in general that was enjoyable, so I don't hate this Anitta look. Next up is Anna Wintour. She's wearing Chanel, I believe, and if she's not, I really don't care. The thing is, this is some sort of odd, embroidered, colorful little experience. It has a cape top and feathers that sort of flow down. Do I want to give Anna credit and be like, yeah, maybe she's wearing a version of the Inverness cape? Sure. Do I want to do that? Absolutely. Will I do that? No. This is your event. Why not go for it? Why not deliver? Why not give the girls something to say, oh shit, that's how I have to do it? But instead we do Chanel with a peep toe. It's just not interesting. It's not an attractive motif. The cut is strange, and it just feels very do as I say and not as I do, and I think that's the problem here. Next up we have Ashton Sanders, and he is wearing Casablanca. It is a blue denim set with a gold sort of piping. There's some sort of reference to boning, and there's a gold sort of trim, little bauble, beads and buttons, a high collar, little epaulettes at the shoulders, side gold stripe, and some cowboy boots. I think it's inspired menswear. Do I think that it really hits Gilded Age fashion? No. I believe Casablanca is a French brand, and it seems like they were looking at some period. I just don't know which one. I don't think that it's maybe a reference to a frock coat or a university coat or a morning coat of, any of those periods. There's no like bowler hat or stovepipe hat or anything like that to signify, again, very menswear elements of the period. It just feels like a random old-timey style that we're doing in denim with gold and saying gilded America. For the French I get, but at the same time, like, you were all upset about Emily in Paris, so why can't we be upset about you thinking that we only have denim and gold as a reference point in our lives? So yeah, that's my thing. I like Ashton. I think he always goes for it. I appreciate him doing that. It just doesn't feel like it's actually on theme. It feels like, to an uneducated viewer, yes, absolutely on theme. But to the girls in the know, it's a no. Next up, we have Awkwafina. I don't know what Gucci was going for here. It's making me uncomfortable. It's essentially a pink silk gown with cutouts and sleeves. And again, like, the sleeves are puffed, but there's no puff emphasis on the shoulders. So like, you could have had brownie points at Go Day sleeves. We didn't do that. We trimmed it in like the fuzzy, furry, poofy, loofah experience again. Maybe we could have done it like a faux fur that was bright and funky. Maybe we could have done something there to emulate the trims of the period. This wave motif in my head, I'm thinking, oh, like maybe we're trying to reference the drape that would happen with bustle, natural form, and second bustle skirts from the Gilded Age. But I think that's really abstract, and I think I'm really like grasping at straws there, and that's unfortunate. It does ombre into the red from the salmony, pinky, creamy experience. I also don't really understand the silver star and shoulder pad situation. It just doesn't add up. Next up, we have Bad Bunny, and he's wearing Burberry. Thank you. Thank you, Bad Bunny. The sleeves are great. I think they capture an element of the 1890s. They're puffed to a degree. This look is somewhat reminiscent of like a slimmed down version of a bicycle suit. There are no pants, and so I think it's intriguing to see how the bicycle suit, which was essentially pants made for women at this point in history, which would not have been common whatsoever, was kind of reversed for a man and turned into a gown with detachable skirt. It's done in a Burberry trenchy, cotton twilly sort of experience. You can see it in that beige. It's a full dress, you know what I mean? Like, he's moving and grooving for it. I like the shirt and the tie underneath. I think it's super duper fun. I think the sleeves really are like the thing to sort of see in this regard. And I know that it's not really crazy. I know that's not really super duper out there in terms of sleevage, but do think it's a play on the original sort of bicycle suit and 1890s sort of aesthetic, but done in a reverse Uno card. And again, like, I'm not trying to gender clothing, whatever, but I'm just trying to sort of draw a parallel between these two different styles. Overall, do I think it could have been like a little bit kookier, a little bit crazier? Sure, but I think that Bad Bunny actually hit a menswear moment too, in the sense of menswear was not meant to be showy and flashy and crazy and over the top. And so in a weird way, the shirt and the tie and just the simple beige color also sort of plays into that really, really well. I think he's done a great job. I think it very much so hits the nail on the head. It's strange and it's avant-garde and it's modern, but at the same time references the Gilded Age. So next up we have Bella Hadid, and she is wearing Burberry. Now this is a custom look, and it consists of a leather bustier. It has a hook sort of eyelets running up both sides, which means that two pieces that were put together. There's a sort of slitted skirt and a lace sort of stocking and pearls wrapped around the ankles of the shoes. There's bicep length gloves as well. As for looks as far as Bella goes, I would say this is probably one of her worst. It's not incredibly chic. It's not incredibly memorable, and just feels like a flop. Bella's a fashion girl. She literally was just wearing Yves Saint Laurent by Dior. And I just wonder where we went wrong here. Like, why didn't we say, listen, Ricardo, Burbs, let's do something great and chic and elegant and wonderful. Let's reference some cool things. Let's, you know, get fashion up in here. And we got fashioned. We were shunned by fashion. And honestly, like, it's kind of just a bunch of different black things smashed together and said, look, an outfit. And that sucks. For Bella, especially, because, like, babe, why? It's a mess. Next up, we have Billie Eilish, and she is wearing Gucci. Now, this is a look that actually is on theme. Shocking, I know. Now, Billie is wearing a Gucci full custom ensemble. It's made from all different recycled, upcycled, or dead stock fabrics. And so what's been done here essentially is a corset has been created inside of this sort of light seafoam green and cream boning structure. We can see all the different strip panels that go across and really cinched in there. There's a sort of flower little detail right at the center of the neckline, which actually covers the bust. And then we have sort of minty green lace sleeve that comes down and covers parts of the arms. Gloves would have been common at the time, so this is a nice little nod. And there's quite a little bit of drapery going on in this light ivory skirt. There's a little bit of like a tiny baby bustle at the back. It's not super duper prominent, but I do like the fact that at least we're draping here. Again, you can see that there's a waist, there's draped skirt element. There's Gilded Age styles to a degree, made a little bit more modern. There's coverage, even though there's not all that much coverage. And also you would see possibly sometimes a little bit of cleavage going on as well, depending on what decade it was and also what sort of event style was too. So this is not some like weird out of the box sort of look. It makes sense. It has very periodically somewhat accurate feelings to it, and then also it's very Alessandro Michele for Gucci, very pastel, but it's a bunch of different colors and styles mixed all together in one, in a weird kind of cookie strange way, but it works. Billie went for the theme, very happy about it. She's doing her job, did a bit of research. Do I wish it was over the top and amazing and wonderful and perfect as last year? Yeah, but she did the job that was needed to be done, and so I say, killed it. Next up, we have Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Let's talk about Ryan Reynolds first, just to get him, you know, out of the way. He's wearing a white tie, little tuxedo. It's what looks like a brownish velvet. Maybe it's black, I can't really tell. It has a little waistcoat with chains and a white shirt and a white tie and a pant and a shoe, and I just wish he'd gone a little bit more exciting, but also at the same time, any men that did sort of boring, blah, uninteresting, technically it's on theme, men of this period were not sort of meant to be showy and fashion forward. They were meant to just fade into the background. This technically is on theme, technically references the period quite well. As for Blake, now this look is actually a custom Versace look, and it's referencing not the fashion of the period necessarily, but more so the architectural elements of Gilded Age America, and specifically New York. So we have a strapless gown. It's filled with sort of references to the architectural styles of the period. I don't really know all that much about Gilded Age architecture, so I'm gonna take Blake's word for that and Versace's, even though that sounds kind of dangerous. But the colors are very bright and vibrant. I don't know how colorful Gilded Age architecture was. I don't think it really was. I feel like it was probably like a lot of limestone and brownstone and brick and stuff like that. So I think we're getting a little bit dramatic in our embroideries over there. But now this copper drape around the hip definitely has a bustly feel to it to a degree, but it's actually meant to be a reference to the Statue of Liberty and the fact that when it came to New York, I believe it was completed or came to New York in 1886, which would have been the middle of the Gilded Age, it actually was copper. And also there is a sort of drape element to it that goes throughout. It has like a little sash, but it also is draped sort of Grecian style, and that's what Blake is sort of referencing here, which I appreciate. I like a little bit of an out-of-the-box reference. And then what happened was Blake sort of unfurled this copper drape sash train situation, and we saw this bright gown unfold. And you know what the great part about it was? It was a reference to the fact that copper over time oxidizes, and so that's how we have the current Statue of Liberty, and that's sort of the reference color here. The embroidery throughout is a reference to the ceiling of Grand Central Station, which I believe Grand Central Station was actually built in the 1870s, and now Blake is taking the Constellation paintings that are at the top of the terminal, but those are made in 1927, but I get what she's going for in terms of referencing Grand Central, you know. And then you can still sort of see the copper going all throughout and sort of attaching itself to the rest of the dress via the hip wrap area. Overall, I like it. It's very fun. I think it works in the sense of Blake is very simplistic, but I think it's a beautiful, well thought out, well referenced sort of style. It's not something that everybody else did, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a reference to the exact dress of the period, as long as it's referencing something from the period. I'll let it slide. And I think she's done a great job of doing that, and also showcasing the fact that you don't have to do exactly as the theme sort of presents itself very literally. So we stand. Next up we have Camila Cabello, and she is wearing Prabal Gurung. Objectively, it's ugly. It's a crop top that looks padded to a degree, a high-waisted skirt with some sort of ruffle that flows out the front, and then it's a white sort of silky train. Now, we can say that like, oh, this is referencing to the Gilded Age and da-da-da-da-da. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm not saying that I think that's super duper clear. I also just don't think it looks great. I think the proportions are weird and strange and off. There's just such an emphasis on one side that it just doesn't hit. Had we taken that front ruffle and sort of draped it over the front in a apron skirt sort of fashion, could have referenced the 1870s, it would have been great. Flowers, I think, also should have been all over the garment, as again, there was ostentatious embellishments and sort of decorative elements to clothing at the time. It just feels like we're doing weird deconstruction, but made out of like a quilt that you buy at IKEA before you put the quilt cover on top. I will give Camila Cabello credit in the sense of the bands, these little strings that sort of go across. There was a period where there was a lot of emulation of 18th century court clothing, and essentially there would be these sort of little ties that would run all the way up gowns and dresses, which again is referencing 18th century court dress and especially stomacher sort of styles of robe à la française. So if that was the interpretation, great. If it wasn't the interpretation, probably just say that it was and everybody wins. The rest of the look though, Next up we have Cardi B, and she is wearing Versace, and I'm very disappointed in Cardi B. I understand that this gold chain gown with the Medusa heads and the little Grecian sort of symbols all throughout, and the big chunky necklaces, gilded glamour in the sense of it's gold, but I feel like Colin Carter and Cardi B are much smarter than this, and I get it, it's easy to just do gold, and I think that's for everybody that just did gold, but I feel like Cardi really could have done like a crazy cool sort of bustle, natural form, hourglass reference. And again, that period, it's pretty diverse in the range of what you could do with it. There are so many different cool styles. You could reference menswear, women's wear, any kind of wear. And instead we just did gold chains. It just doesn't really work here, except for the fact that you took gilded literally, and it's like, girls, it was a figurative experience, you know what I mean? Like we were meant to be creative and exciting and fun, and we're just doing bare minimum. And the dress in and of itself, it feels like something we've seen a shit ton of times, so even that, it's not exciting, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable, it's not new and original and creative and innovative, it's just a gold chain dress. So crazy, so cool, so gilded glamour. And honestly, there are certain people that I do expect a high caliber from. Cardi B and Colin Carter, or them. Versace, less so. But Cardi B and Colin, I do. Next up we have Khloe Bailey, and she is wearing Area. Now this is from the Spring 2021 Haute Couture collection. It's a gold sequined gown. It has an asymmetrical neckline. It's strapless, and essentially, instead of taking the shape and protrusion of the bustle in the back, it seems like we've turned it to the side and sort of created these weird, strange, asymmetrical lumps and bumps. Maybe it's a reference to Rei Kawakubo's Spring 1997 collection. Could possibly be. I just just wish that area had gone a little bit further. I understand that this is a garment that's already been pre-made, but it just feels like we could have done something a little bit crazier, kookier. I feel like an area bustle gown would have been super cool. Also, the ornamentation of an area bustle gown would have been amazing. I'm not saying we had to like Swarovski crystal the whole thing, but area chains and area crystal fringes and all that would have been amazing. It would have encompassed the overt, wealthy, opulent, over-the-top fashions of the Gilded Age. And while I understand we're taking the bustle and twisting it, I don't think that that's really all that area could do. I expect better. Next up, we have Emma Chamberlain. She's wearing custom Louis Vuitton, one of the only, maybe the only person to get a custom Louis Vuitton look. A off-the-shoulder, what looks like a muslin jacket. It's pleated and frilled. It has all different fabric manipulations of pleats throughout, whether it's the little tight pleats at the hem of the jacket and top of the jacket, or the large sort of long pleats in the center. And then we have a little bit of a puffed sleeve, so it's like a tiny little Godet baby puff sleeve. And my thing is, had we gone for something that was overarchingly referencing all of this pleating and this manipulation, etc., etc., I would have been a lot happier. I do think that the jacket in and of itself hits the Gilded Age mark, but the white top and the high-waisted white skirt throws off the look completely. It just doesn't make any sense together. There's no cohesion there. It's like one we fished out of Granny's shed to say, oh my god, wait, we still have a remaining piece of the Gilded Age sitting around. But we're going to pair it with a white crop top and a high-waisted skirt. It doesn't seem to like make a lot of sense. I appreciate the jacket part, but the rest of it wouldn't get. Could have plopped a bustle on the back there and called it a day. I don't think it would have been difficult. Also, fabric matching, not that difficult for one of the wealthiest fashion brands in the world. Next up, we have Emma Corrin, and she is wearing Miu Miu, and she is very much so channeling dandy. Now, from what I've seen, Emma Corrin, Harry Lambert, who is her stylist, and Miu Miu actually came together to recreate, or at least be inspired by looks from the New York socialite during the Gilded Age, Evander Berry Wall. Now, we can see an image here of Evander Berry Wall, and it has these big, large buttons, this sort of curved coat in a plaid, and little stockings. A little Oscar Wilde-y, which is cute and fun. The boots, it all works. And so, honestly, I think that Emma, she's giving. She's always going to kind of do a weird, obscure, cool reference, but I think that's what makes you want to see what Emma Corrin's going to wear. I think the jacket is actually lovely. I like the double-breasted element. I like the big buttons. Again, it doesn't really conform to like traditional styles from the Gilded Age, but at the same time, neither did Oscar Wilde. I love the hat on her. I think it's great. I love the fact that she can always sort of take menswear and transform it into something different and weird and cool and strange. The stockings, I think, are perfect. They're like odd and they're weird and they're kind of grotesque in terms of like color. I love that Emma went for it. Is she actually doing Gilded Glamour? Yeah. That's all anybody asked for. Next up, we have Evan Mock, and he is wearing Head of State, which is an American brand. Now, here Evan is wearing a corseted jacket and front pleated pant, a little white shirt, and roughly collar. In my opinion, this jacket is most definitely sort of taking plunging aspect of certain men's vests and waistcoats from the Gilded Age, and instead combining it with not only the outer sort of jacket style, but also corsets, which would have been associated with women's wear at the time. Then we have this white shirt, which to me most definitely references the sort of starched shirts of the period that men would wear, but it's also taking the sort of collars that we were seeing towards end of the period, and instead of making them really, really tight and really, really fitted to the neck, which they were at certain points, we're making it ruffly and fun and different and sort of feminine to a degree. The same with the cuffs of the shirt. And then the pants, again, it's very masculine, man, pleated front sort of style, but there are these little cuts in the front which add a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of interest, a little bit of texture, a little bit of difference. Overall, honestly, I love this. I think it references the Gilded Age. I think it looks really, really good on Evan. I think it plays on gender. I think it plays on expression. I think it plays on so many different things. And it's a nice look. You know what I mean? Like, it's not horrible. It's not ugly. It's not objectively ugly. It just takes these different sort of periods and styles and mashes them all together to look fun and different and cool and nice. Like, it wasn't that hard. And on top of this, everybody that as a stylist, you guys pay people, brands. You pay for the looks to be made to put in the hands of the stylist, and then the stylist puts it on the celebrity. The brands aren't actively like working to make things good. The stylists are getting like last minute earrings and all that sort of stuff, and it's kind of thing. And then the celebrity always gets dumped on. It seems like there's an issue in terms of our communication here, and somebody needs to fix it overarchingly. Next up, we have Gigi Hadid, and she is wearing Versace. Now, this is a custom look. Overarchingly, no. Does this Versace look have a corset around the waist? Yes. Do I think a corset makes a Gilded Age look? No. It's essentially a large quilted puffer coat, and I think it's beautiful. I do. I genuinely think it's beautiful. If it was not in the context of the Met Gala, I would say that this is my favorite look from a personal standpoint. And I also think the fact that there's a lot of work that goes into quilting like that. There's a lot of sort of time and effort. I love the fact that it's not just a dress and a gown and a train, but it's rather a coat is also amazing. You have a little leather or patent leather jumpsuit underneath, which I think also plays off of the color palette well. Of course, it does not make a Gilded Age reference. Have we done a dolman in a puffer coat? Amazing. Have we done a wrap? Wonderful. If we didn't anything that referenced the period, it would have been great, but no, we just did a big coat. Next up is Hailey Bieber, and she is wearing Yves Saint Laurent. This is a look that allegedly, according to Hailey, was based on Jerry Hall, who was a model. She dated Mick Jagger, I believe, at a certain point. You know, it was around in the 70s. Yves Saint Laurent in the 70s was kind of like the king of fashion. I think that's kind of what's going on here. It's essentially a halter gown that's backless with a large sort of feather-trimmed robe. Very 1940s sort of lingerie boudoir, in my opinion, inspired, which Yves Saint Laurent 1970s was inspired by the 1940s, etc., etc. It's just not on theme. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell me every Yves Saint Laurent reference to Zozo's. You could give me Catherine Deneuve. You could give me Zizi Jean-Mer. You could give me Paloma Picasso, Bianca Jagger, anyone. But it's not a reference to the Gilded Age, and so that's my problem. I get it. Anthony, he's a little bit difficult. He's like, I don't play by the rules. Here tonight on the red carpet, maybe just play by the rules a little bit. A really fitted hourglass corset experience would have been great. There's just like, I'm sure that there's some sort of crazy kooky reference we could have funked up. What if we had referenced, you know, the ballet russe and done big coats with puffed godet, with puffed gigot sleeves? There's a bustle built in. Like, we could have just done that, and we would have been great. It would have been wonderful. But no, we did a white halter gown and the feather-trimmed coat. Like, it just is blah. Also, no offense to Jerry Hall, but like, you're not Gilded Age, babe. I'm sorry they're getting dragged into this, but garbage. Next up is Katy Perry, and she's wearing Jean Paul Gaultier. Now, this is a look that she was supposed to wear to the Time exhibit. There's elements of this Jean Paul Gaultier that do sort of reference, I guess, to a degree, Gilded Age styles. I mean, like that front swag of fabric, maybe you could allude to like the front drape. Lace was definitely popular at the time. Sometimes you can find a Worth gown that has asymmetrical, you know, draping in there as well. I just think Katy Perry was like, oh, I have to wear a dress. I'm just gonna wear this one that I was supposed to wear. And also, like, About Time started in the 1870s, but went all the way through sort of fashion history in a modern context. So yeah, we can like say it's 1870s inspired, but like, you know. And also, no offense to Jean Paul Gaultier, but like, did you really have to pull this dress out for the Met Gala? It's not a dress that you're like, I've had it for 2 years, I have to wear it. You know, after like a year, you say to yourself, oh, thank God I didn't wear it. It didn't need to be pulled out. It's just, it's not that girl, even if it's like on theme, which I'm not really believing. Next up is Kendall Jenner, and she's wearing Prada, this custom look. It's a little crop top. That's a fishnet sort of crop top that has little floral embroidery on it, which isn't really the main focus. The main focus is this gigantic ass fucking skirt that very much so feels crinoline-esque. I love this skirt. I like the fact that it's in this big, beautiful black silk, and then it's full of these pleats that most definitely reference the Gilded Age decorative pleated styles. I think it's lovely. I think it's fun. I wish the top was maybe a little bit simpler, and I wish that it just matched the skirt, but that's also Prada, so like, that's not gonna happen. That's wishful thinking. But I do think it's genuinely like a nice reference. It definitely does reference the period. It definitely does capture the sort of grandiosity, the overwhelming largesse of the period and its fashions and shockingly, like, good for you, Kendall Jenner. You're carrying the family. Just saying. Next up, we have Khloe Kardashian, and this is her first Met Gala, and she's wearing Moschino. And now I say to you, Khloe, this is the first Met Gala you've come to. I feel like you've probably been waiting years for it to happen, and yet this is what you wear. A gold fringe dress with a black silk stole. That's it. That's all you're giving for Gilded. If you've waited this long to come, and then you come, and you're a flop on the red carpet, like, no wonder why Anna wasn't inviting you. I get it. I understand completely. It's just boring. It's uninteresting. It doesn't really make much of a difference. Might as well just have worn a pair of good American jeans. You know what I mean? Called it a day. Wrapped it up. Like, we think we couldn't have gotten Jeremy Scott to, like, make a crazy cookie, oh my god, amazing outfit based on the Gilded Age. Like, we could have. Kardashians. Big butts. It's kind of like what you guys are known for. And yet, no reference. Concerning. Next up, we have Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. Now, Pete, let's just talk about really quickly, is wearing Dior Men. It's a simple double-breasted suit jacket. Again, like, I get it, the boring thing, but we could have just, like, cut a suit to, I don't know, like, reference the Gilded Age. Wouldn't have been that difficult, wouldn't have been that hard. Could have done it. I get it, he's from Staten Island, I'm from Staten Island. Like, why waste the time and the energy? But, like, it's a Met Gala. We could have. But the Kim Kardashian dress is the intriguing one. And I'm being very nice by saying intriguing, because in my opinion, it's an abomination. Now, this dress, it was believed for a few days before the Met that Kim was going to be wearing the dress that Marilyn Monroe wore to the Democratic Convention to sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President, which was designed by Jean-Louis, was a beige style covered in 2,500 crystals. The thing about that dress is it's 60 years old. It sold for $5 million at auction. In my opinion, it's not something that should be worn. I mean, it's an iconic part of American history. I mean, it indicated, allegedly, the fact that Marilyn Monroe was sleeping with JFK, allegedly the affair to Jackie Kennedy in a public sort of forum, and pretty much cemented it as one of Marilyn's most sort of controversial and yet iconic looks. 7-year itch and this dress. Those are sort of Marilyn's iconic moments, alongside the pink dress from Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. The thing is, Kim wearing the gown, and I just say why. I say why because I genuinely don't think that anybody should have lent her the dress to wear. What's going to happen with a gown of this age, and this will, I think, show over time, is Kim's gonna sweat on this. She's gonna get makeup on this. And again, getting makeup and stuff like that on garments like this, it's not hard to do in the hubbub of the Met Gala. It is a crazy event. Being in New York now again, post-COVID, it's insane to see it. And it's a thing, it happens. It happens to even the most careful of people. The other thing is Kim might sweat in it. Kim might rub a rhinestone off of it with those big old nails too. So my thing is, there's so many ways to irreparably damage this, in my opinion, artifact. And yet we let her wear it to the Met Gala with that goddamn poor stole. Which, in my opinion, if you're gonna do it, like, wear a real vintage fur stole to just, like, you know, pay homage to Marilyn. I just don't think it was necessary because it also doesn't look that good. That's my biggest thing. It doesn't look that good. It does not fit nearly as well as it fit Marilyn. And it just, to me, is like an attention grab to be like, I'm this version of Marilyn. I'm the new Marilyn. Like, you're not. You're not Marilyn. You're not Marilyn at all. And also, it's not on theme. Like, why wouldn't you, Kim Kardashian, I've never had an ass implant, not do a bustle and go crazy, but instead you want a priceless artifact? That's like carrying the Mona Lisa around being like, oh, chic, elegant, fun, cool. No, it's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. And again, like, this dress doesn't do anything for Kim. Completely different skin tone. And it's very obvious. She hasn't styled it properly. She looks strange. The hair, and I don't really comment on people's hair, but like, why wouldn't you do like a Marilyn coif? Babe, do a Marilyn coif. A flop all around. I think it's terrible. I think it's an abomination. I can't believe that she wore it. I can't believe that they let it be worn by her. Gross. Next up, we have Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker, and they're both wearing Thom Browne. He's wearing a little beautiful tuxedo coat. It has little tails on it, super duper fun. There's a skirt, it's pleated, and it's paired over pants. It's Thom Browne, iconic patent leather shoes we love, and then the nice white shirt with a little white tie. Tying it all together, it's a nice little Thom Browne look. Nothing too crazy, nothing too over the top, but it's essentially the fourth-piece suit recreated in a modern sort of sensibility, and we love to see it. As for Kourtney, I actually respect it. I like the shirt. it's cropped. Could it be possibly a reference to the shirt waist? Maybe. I'll give Kourtney credit for that. And this little skirt, and by little I mean long skirt, is a high-waisted cummerbund crinoline sort of style skirt, which obviously like creates a shape at the pelvic sort of area. We can call it natural form-esque if we'd like. And then it has this sort of tailored, deconstructed goings on in terms of a train. I like it. I think it's fun. I think the whole look is sort of odd and strange and different, but it's very Thom Browne. The referencing, I could see it, whether it's real or not. I don't know, but I could see it. Also, it's just nice to see the two of them like coinciding on something, fashion-wise. I've been waiting for forever. We then had Kylie Jenner. She wore off-white. It's pretty hideous. R.I.P. Virgil, like that's not really what this is about. It's a white shirt with a strapless wrapped bustier bodice and a large frilled skirt. And again, like it's just, why didn't we make a bustle? The baseball hat, veil situation, I feel like would be great on anybody not Kylie Jenner. Somebody else I could like imagine it. She's just not serving it to the girl. She's not selling the storyline. She's not helping one to say, oh wow, it looks nice. No, it's just a literal strapless gown over a t-shirt, and we're calling it a day. No, it's gross. It's blah. Uninteresting. Next up, we have Lizzo, and she's wearing Thom Browne. Now, this is a moire corset gown. Essentially, it's a cocktail dress, but also has little panels that sort of allow that split to come through, and it's pretty much a full sort of gown made up of boning and corsetry and all that sort of stuff, which I think is cool. I feel like it's a fun way to sort of take on the corset, which very much so was a part of Gilded Age fashion. Sort of recreate it in a modern way without making it something that has to necessarily like create an hourglass shape, but rather change the proportions of it. Do something interesting with it. Give it a little bit of deconstruction going on. It's smart. The coat is actually a reference to the Chesterfield coat, which was, again, a coat that went over frock coat. I believe in the 1870s, maybe early 1880s at most. It's full of a gold embroidery that goes all the way through, all the way down, trims, has a little bit of a rococo feel in the gold. Coat most definitely is a Chesterfield coat, Thom Browne has confirmed, which again, I like a reference to an actual garment. I like the fact that we're playing and touching upon menswear from the Gilded Age and sort of giving it a new feeling. I like the necklace that she's wearing too. I feel like it's fun. The gold all plays together. Honestly, these two pieces by themselves I think are good, but together I think it also works. It adds drama, it adds excitement. I also like the way the coat lays on the floor. It has a weird sort of dolman-esque feeling to it, in my opinion, to a degree, and so killing it, Lizzo. Next up, we have Megan Thee Stallion. She's wearing Moschino. This is a custom look. Why the fabric at the waist doesn't match her skin tone is annoying the shit out of me. And also, it's just gold. It's gold feathers on the shoulders and a gold bust and a gold embroidery that goes all the way through. Maybe it's very rococo, inspired baroque maybe. And I get it in the concept of doing any other Met Gala theme, but I just don't think that that works for Gilded Glamour. Yeah, when I made the video explaining the Met Gala theme and I mentioned the Moschino dresses, the gold ones, it was a joke. It was a joke. It was a hee-ha-ha. And again, I just feel like it's a wasted opportunity for Moschino to not touch upon the bustle. It's a wasted opportunity for Megan to sort of not do crazy cutouts in a bustle. Like, why couldn't we do one that shows right through and like shows thigh or shows a little bit of booty or shows waist or anything? But like, why not try to reinterpret those styles in a fun, cool, exciting way? But instead we just get this, which take this look and drop it in any other Met Gala theme. You probably can. Catholic imagination, camp, about time. Maybe not because it's about time, but it's about time that it goes. And it's upsetting because I think something for Megan would have been really, really cool, referencing the bustles or the natural form. Like, playing on the natural form for Megan Thee Stallion, who loves to show off her body on the red carpet. Like, guys, I'm thinking about these things in like 5 minutes. I don't know how we've had months to make these garments with multiple teams working on them, and we're still flopping. Next up is Nicki Minaj, and she's wearing Burberry. Now, this is a custom look. It's essentially made up of a large belt with tiers of what look like feathers, fabric that is trimmed in feathers, and then a leather pant or a leather jumpsuit situation that essentially big sort of tier contraption that goes around the front of the look actually sort of creates a train in and of itself. I won't say it's a bustle, and I won't say that it's a direct reference to the Gilded Age, but I feel like at least we were trying to create something that's derivative of it. Do I think it's a great job? No. Do I think maybe we tried? Yeah, and I guess I'll take that. Overall, though, I wish Nicki really had gone for it more. I think there are, again, a lot of opportunities. She's a beautiful woman. I think there are great ways to sort of play on the bustle, shape it, move it, groove it, reinterpret it, make it modern, make it fun, make it very much so, I think, her sort of campy-esque style. And it just feels very blah and lazy and uninteresting. And this goes for everybody. It's not just Nicki. I do appreciate the fact that we went for a little bit of a train that maybe is referencing like natural lines and natural forms, but I don't think we've hit where we should have hit. Next up, we have Nicola Coughlan, and she is wearing Richard Quinn. This is a custom look. This is how you do it, people. This is a masterclass. Let's get into it. We have the gigot sleeve. Beautiful sort of bustly elements coming out, creating big trains. These feathers are stunning. They're fun. They play off of each other. The pink and the black. Besides that, there's not like too much reference, but I do genuinely think that Nicola is actually like channeling an energy. Lady, whistle down. But she could have said, listen, I'm doing the Regency and that's it. Everybody else can suck it. But no, she has her gigot sleeve. It's kind of like a late 1880s sort of feeling to it. Very late and very early 1890s. Because you have the gigot sleeve, but you still have quite a lot of fabric. Quite large, quite big, quite over the top. I think it's fun. I think it's nice. I think it fits the theme. I'll take it. Next up, we have Olivia Rodrigo. Flop, gross, boring. Again, fire the stylist. They don't know what they're doing. Versace made you a custom Oroton look, and that's what you do. No reference to the natural form, no reference to, the hourglass figure, no reference to bustling, no dolman jacket, no, wraps, shoes, no nothing. Slip dress in a purple glittery Oroton. Like, what about that, says the Gilded Age? It's like throwing away opportunity after opportunity. It's like anything just goes over this kid's head. You need people that actually know what they're doing, because you could take Olivia and put her on any red carpet and say, oh, she's there again. But this is the second Met Gala where it's like, mess, boring, uninteresting, flop, gross, who cares, not memorable, not interesting. Like, good for you? No, it's not. It's really not good for you. Next up, we have Rosalía, and she is wearing Givenchy by Matthew Williams. Listen, Rosalía, she has a gigot sleeve. It's there. It's happening. It's moving. It's grooving. And at the same time, there's a halter. The halter neck ties into the sleeve. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's crazy. Oh my god, it's like we couldn't have done that with everybody else that did a goddamn halter. I do think that this very much so corseted sort of style is fun. I think the embroidery is weird and it's strange and it's sort of gross and grody and looks like mold, but I think it actually is a chic and weird and fun way of taking on the way that the hourglass sort of figure was formed and contoured. I love the detailing at the wrists. I don't know what that embroidery is, but it's cool, it's strange, it's weird. And Rosalía always kind of goes well for the Met. She does it. She's a good example of like, I'm here, there's a theme, I'm following it, I'm going to be fashion forward. And we love to see it. And then it sort of degrades from heavy embroidery down, creates a big sort of frilled train. Listen, would I have loved a little bit more bustling? Yeah, definitely. Matthew, you could have put a little bit more junk in the trunk in terms of fabrics, but listen, at least we got a sleeve, at least we got a little bit of contour, hourglassy figure. I'll take that. Next up, we have Russell Westbrook. I love the hat. It's so good. Definitely inspired by the Gilded Age. The suit jacket, very nice, very fun, very easy. Like the little white tie, like the little PK collar moment going on, and the pleated skirt. It's fun, it's easy. Russell, love the hat. Looks great on him. Very happy. Gilded Age man, here for it. Next up, we have Sarah Jessica Parker, and she is wearing a custom Christopher John Rogers gown. Now, Sarah Jessica Parker was very, very much so open about the fact that this gown was inspired by Elizabeth Keckley, who was a dressmaker that actually bought her own freedom from enslavement because of her seamstress skills. She also was the dressmaker to Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of Abraham Lincoln, and grew to some sort of prominence around like the late 1850s, 1860s. But once Lincoln was assassinated, Mary Todd Lincoln had like money troubles and couldn't afford to pay her anymore, and so their friendship kind of got weird because Mary was like, I need money, and Elizabeth Keckley was like, okay. And then Mary was an asshole to her. I think what's really, really fun here is we took the plaid and sort of expanded it. So it's not that sort of tight little ginghamy plaid. Do I think that it's necessarily like Gilded Age? No. Do I think it hits like 1870s sort of aesthetics? Not necessarily, because I think you can see that there's a little bit of rounding going on at the front, but I'm willing to let it slide because at least it's like within 10 years. The rest of the girls are doing 1990s looks. Love, love. The corset thing is really, really beautiful. I think it's really, really fun. I like the black, the way that it goes down, and I like the fact that the white and the black sort of all intersect as it runs down into the skirt. Really cool, really smart. Continuity. Very important. The little bows at the sleeves are great, and the fact that this is off the shoulder too is really, really nice. The skirt in and of itself is a feat. It's beautiful, it's stunning, creates a beautiful bell sort of shape. The fact that you have the light bars that run through and discolor the vertical stripes and strips of fabric is really, really cool too. And you know what? The great thing about Sarah Jessica Parker is she loves a headpiece. Women of the Gilded Age wear headpieces all the time. So the fact that she's doing this big plumage over the top crazy cookie thing, very much a part of what was worn. Now, not this exactly, but there was ornate headpieces and hats and all those sorts of things. So I love the fact that she went for it and she took it and she added a little bit of pink, very Christopher John Rogers colory too. Overall, love this for Sarah Jessica Parker. I never thought that I would say that about a SJP Met Gala look, but here I am, being a stan. And finally, let's talk about Shawn Mendes. He is wearing Tommy Hilfiger, and he's going for a sort of double-breasted coat situation. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's a different kind of menswear for him. The gold buttons with the burgundy sort of lining and the asymmetrical thing. It's like, it's decent. And then he took that off, and he just did a sort of simple suit, but it's a nice suit. It's a nice looking suit. I won't lie to you and say it's bad. Do I wish it was more interesting? Absolutely, most definitely. Better than the Michael Kors last time, so gonna give him time to ruminate in it and live his best life. It's decent. So that is the end of this video. Let's talk about some of the best and the worst. Best so far, I am giving 2. I'm gonna give it to Sarah Jessica Parker. Close second is like Rosalía. As for worst, Khloe Kardashian, 100%. Hot garbage, the worst, terrible. And Kim Kardashian also, because travesty, really offended about it. Stay tuned for part 2. We will get into more of these looks from your other favorite celebrities. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, and TTYL.